Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us once again on the State of Freedom.
The State of Freedom is a listener-supported podcast. We're committed to pursuing the truth about policymaking, decisions, and situations in Louisiana and at the national level that stand to impact our freedoms.
Please become a monthly supporter of the State of Freedom at freedomstate.us as we continue to expand the voice of liberty across Louisiana and beyond.
Hey, Danielle Walker here. I'd love for you to check out my online boutique, Lux Lion. My mission for Lux Lion is to showcase innovative African designers and sustainable mission-driven brands. To do that, I bring you stunningly beautiful handcrafted jewelry and accessories from some of my absolute favorite places on earth. Small batch wholesale for storefronts is also available. Join me in celebrating African artistry and shop now at luxlion.us. Use promo code FREEDOM for an additional 10% off your purchase. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the State of Freedom, where we are grounded in faith in the Constitution and we're committed to giving voice to the truth, living with courage, and taking action. It is Thursday, November 13th. It's 10 a.m. Central. I'm Danielle Walker, and I'm joined by my friend and co-host, the watchdog in chief of Louisiana Citizen Advocacy Group, Chris Alexander. Welcome, Chris. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
Good to see you, my friend.
see
I didn't
you
realize when we
always.
were talking earlier that we matched this morning. Look at
I
us.
mean,
We're coordinating colors.
and it wasn't even by design.
No.
Yeah.
Well, we are coming to you live this morning on Voice of the People USA TV and radio network, on Rumble, X, YouTube, and Facebook. You can always catch us later on our audio-only platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcast as well. And joining us today is a good friend of the show. Oh, and I forgot to say, this is our 350th episode, everybody. So we are celebrating with our good friend, Joe Hoft. And you all know him, but he is an author and he's the host of the Joe Hoft Show, among many other things. And we heard backstage that he's been seeing some good things happening in the news. So we're looking forward to that. We had to put out some titles in advance, and maybe we'll get to that stuff. Maybe we won't cover it because the news moves so quickly. You never know what it is we're going to cover. So anyway, Joe, we're going to let this be kind of a free-for-all conversation. But before we get into it, let me read the scripture of the day. It's going to set us up. It's going to encourage everybody. It is Matthew chapter 12, verses 18 through 21. And this is a prophecy about Jesus in Isaiah that Matthew is quoting. And he's pointing to it. As he's pointing to it, he's explaining that Jesus was the fulfillment of that prophecy in Isaiah. And so I just encourage you to read the chapter, or at least the surrounding verses around this 18 to 21 in Matthew 12, because it's about performing healing miracles on the Sabbath and loving people more than being religious. Okay, the scripture, chapter 12, Matthew chapter 12, verses 18 through 21. It says, "Take a careful look at my servant, my chosen one. I love him dearly, and I find all my delight in him. I will breathe my spirit upon him, and he will decree justice to the nations. He will not quarrel or be found yelling in public. He won't brush aside the bruised and broken. He will be gentle with the weak and feeble until his victory releases justice, and the fame of his name will birth hope among the people." And I might preach to us a little bit this morning because I was feeling this so strongly. But I talked to a number of people this week who have felt that the spiritual warfare has been just off the charts. And several prophets that I listen to have been encouraging us to ramp up in prayer and in worship this week so we can overcome the plans of the enemy. And if you take a look at social media and the news, it's undeniable that the enemy's working overtime to divide the coalition of people who have united under the banner of saving the nation. So the Lord brought me to this scripture this morning, I think, as a reminder, because as Christians, as people who bear the name of Christ, we should look like him. And this is what he looked like. He looked like this. He will decree justice to the nations. He will not quarrel or raise his voice in public. He won't brush aside the bruised and broken. He will be gentle with the weak and feeble until his victory releases justice. and the fame of his name will birth hope among the people. So let's use this as our model in the midst of the storm and the spiritual battles we find ourselves in, because it's more important to be like Jesus and to reflect the person and the name of Jesus honorably than it is to be right.
100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. They're mighty for taking down strongholds. And we don't war like the world wars. We war with prayer, with worship, with kindness, and we shift the atmosphere around us with declarations of scripture, with decrees that dismantle evil and tear down wickedness in high places. So let me encourage us all today not to partner with the enemy by speaking words of division or failure. Take those fears and take that anxiety to the Lord in prayer and praise until your attitude and mindset shifts. Turn off the TV, put down the phone, go outside, reconnect with God, reconnect with his creation. Yes, we are under attack, but we have to fight back with the spiritual weapons that the Lord has given us. And I believe this week the tide of the battle is turning, but we have to get our weapons, our armor, and our focus right if we want to see the victory. So that's my sermon for this
Yes,
morning. Sorry.
Danielle, it is so powerful, and everything that you're praying could be encapsulated into, well, one phrase that as Christians we're called to be in the world, but not of the world.
Yeah.
In the world, but not of the world. And we certainly don't want to become like those who we're trying to vanquish and we're trying to defeat. But if we're too injected into it, it can really it can devastate you. It can poison the soul if we do not always maintain our perspective to be in the world, but not of the world. And another thing that jumped out at me this morning was the fact that we will never put aside the bruised and the broken. In
Yeah.
fact, that's one of the fundamental callings of the Christian, is to protect the bruised and the broken, which is a great segue to Joe Hoft this morning, who needs no introduction on the state of freedom, really needs no introduction anywhere. But when you're talking about the bruised and the broken, Danielle and Joe, I want to throw this out to you. Nobody has been more bruised and broken in our country than the J6 prisoners, the ones who have really been victimized by the complete corrupt weaponization of our government. And yet they continue to languish right now out there, rudderless, uncertain, their lives destroyed, while 8 U.S. senators sneak in a provision in the most recent bill to reopen the government, doing two things: creating, for the first time, making it illegal for the government to subpoena the phone records of public officials without their knowledge, and also putting in there a provision whereby they get a huge payout as a result of it, while saying nothing about the people who were truly victimized by this, the J6 prisoners. I have to tell you, Joe, when I read about this, it absolutely infuriated me that they would do this. And I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Mm. Well, thanks guys for having me. It's great seeing you again. It's really
Good to
great
see
being
you.
here. You guys, nice way to start a show too. It's just fantastic. So it's great to see you. I appreciate all you guys do. You're
Oh,
just
we appreciate you, Joe. Thank you.
well, thanks. I mean, what you're doing in Louisiana and really nationwide is just fantastic. So thanks for having me. It's an honor. As far as that, yeah, I put up a piece yesterday. We talked to on a show last night about it. It was Eric Schmidt from Missouri, who's the senator now. He was the attorney general before Bailey, and I believe after Josh Hawley. So Hawley went to the Senate. He went in and became the attorney general, as I recall. And then when he won the Senate race, then this Bailey guy stepped in, who now he's over at the DOJ. So a lot of moving pieces. But Schmidt is the guy that worked with Louisiana a few years back on the censorship.
Mm-hmm.
And started attacking government censorship on Americans. And one entity that they used as support was the Gateway Pundit. And so that was me and Jim and all these articles that were written at the Gateway Pundit, especially during the 2020 election. And I'm still trying personally to get my hand on that list. that was produced by this group called the EIP, an election integrity partnership. Yeah, and it this was Stanford, Washington, at least groups associated with those two universities, as well as a company called Graphica and one other. What they did during the 2020 election is they put together this operation where if somebody wrote an article, they would automatically funnel it through this entity. They would then farm it out. Individuals would build a reply, which was full of lies in my book, and then they would censor us, take it down off Twitter, and push their lies. And that's what they did over and over. The number one entity, I think, if you add all the numbers, is Gateway Pundit. We were twice as many as Breitbart, and there was another category as well that were real high in too. James Woods, the actor, was real high, and the real the Donald.win was another one that was real high. The Donald.win, I used some of their stuff too. They were great. They had some great guys, writing there. This was a group that was at Reddit, but they lost. Reddit shut down anything related to Trump because it was so big.
Mm-hmm.
And that's during those years, during Trump's presidency, after he won that election, they just started censoring everything. So these guys went and created their own website, and it's still around and it's still great. And they love the Donald. And so they were on it quite a bit too. But anyways, so Schmidt was a big part of that. I didn't know about the guy until then. I didn't know if I trusted him, just because of the leadership in Missouri is, in my opinion, a lot of rhinos, of rhinos, and they're not, and I could tell you stories, but because I was up there for a while. But anyways, so Schmidt seemed like a good guy. So then he came out with this piece a couple nights ago talking about exactly what you just shared, this thing where we're going to prevent the DOJ from spying on us in the future. And I'm like, well, how about spying on all of us? Wouldn't that be kind of nice? When I saw it, but I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt because he's done a pretty darn good job so far. And actually, I think he's done a pretty good job. But he didn't mention this thing that you're talking about, Chris, about they're all getting $500,000. And I'm not sure if it's the same thing, if it was pushed in there or when it got in there. But that wasn't mentioned. One piece, though, in this legislation that's not all bad is that it basically grandfathers, it goes back 2 years. So this will allow them to do an investigation into all of Jack Smith's efforts in spying on the Senate. So in that sense, it's really good.
Yeah. And the only objection that I have no objection to making it illegal to subpoena any of the phone records of any American citizen without disclosing it. I have no objection to being able to sue the DOJ. I think qualified immunity, I think it's almost impossible at this point. And Tom Renz was on the show the other day, just a couple of days ago, talking about how extraordinarily difficult it is to prevail in any kind of a lawsuit against the federal government because it's just so powerful and it has unlimited resources. And the federal courts have made them virtually immune from any kind of civil liability. I have no objection to making that easier. What I have a problem with is that they are carving out a specific exception for themselves in this bill that allows them to make a tremendous amount of money while not including people who spent months and years languishing and who've had their entire lives destroyed over this weaponization of our government. And I think it's just reprehensible.
Yeah. And the other thing we talked about before the show was, wait a second, why do the American taxpayers need to be on the hook for the treachery of the government that's subverting us?
That's a good point. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying there. I agree. What's going on? Why this sounds like Obamacare, where none of those guys had to take it. We did. Here it is. Exactly. It's great. You guys take it, but we're not.
And the jab, right?
Yeah, the jab, everything. So I think you've got a strong point there, Chris, and we need to bark about it. And a lot of people were this morning. I put another piece up this morning at joehoft.com where Sidney Powell's saying that, and others. Like, what's going on here? How can, what is going on? So that's a great point, and maybe a great segue into what else is all going on and what's happening this week. I think the good news out of all of this, the big picture good news, I think, is that this Schumer shutdown is finally over. And so in that sense, it's good. Some of these, it didn't impact me. I flew last weekend out to an event in Vegas and back where I was speaking, and no problem. So, they scared me into thinking it's going to be a problem, but everything was fine. Wasn't delayed much at all, other than the normal stuff that you go through, it seems like, anymore. So that's good. The court systems, maybe Chris, you're involved with this. They, at least the ones the federal courts, they were a bit hampered and short-staffed a bit. But the one near me, which is the St. Lucie courthouse in Fort Pierce, Florida, which is where now what came out over the weekend was that they've subpoenaed 30 people. And we heard it was John Brennan and Lisa Page and her lover, Peter Strzok. And so that's good news. And, but yeah, I was actually in the courthouse yesterday, and they didn't know when they'd be getting paid again, because they haven't gotten paid now for a while. I like what was thrown out there. And maybe it was just for air traffic controllers, which again, I don't think is fair. I think anybody in the federal government who continued to work, even though, they weren't getting paid, I don't have a problem giving them a bonus personally. I don't. And, but just giving it to air traffic controllers that hung around, I don't know if that's really quite fair either. I think the air traffic controllers should get it. I think anybody that called in, they should be working on trying to get rid of them, because that's not the kind of person we want, working for us, the people in our country. So there's still some things to work out, but the good news is that has been, it's over. I think the Democrats got a lot of egg on their face. I don't think it helped them at all. I heard a rumor last night that maybe they stopped because it came out that this was all an effort to destroy basically America. It's not just Trump, it's America. And somehow maybe they found there was some information on it, and they talked to some of these guys at the Democrat Party, said, hey, we found this information. What are you going to do about it? And so I don't know if that's true, though. I don't know. I think they were just I think it was just stupid from the start. I think it was just anything to gain something, because they have nothing right now. And it didn't work. It was disaster. The best part of it was the memes that came out with
Excellent.
Schumer.
Excellent memes. I'm gonna really miss seeing Dollar Store Obama in a sombrero every day.
That stuff was great. Yeah, you hear him bitching about these racist, videos, and then they put a hat on him, and he starts, Jeffrey starts singing along on a guitar.
Joe,
classic. It was
besides the memes, what do you think really came of this? Because I saw a post by Trump right after the shutdown was announced, or it became clear that there was a shutdown. And he said, basically the Democrats are so stupid. I can't believe they gave me this unprecedented opportunity. And I know some of the things we saw that came out of this were the remarkable exposure of the misuse of taxpayer dollars for SNAP benefits and any number of other things. But that in particular was in the news cycle. People realized that Americans are footing the bill for immigrants to eat while Americans are struggling.
Right.
What else do you think came out of this? And do you think there's some stuff that's happened behind the scenes that was able to take place? I mean, our friend, the Grim Reaper, Russ Vogt, do you think he was busy?
Another great meme, by the way. And that stuff was class. Here's the thing. I had a guy I worked with years ago in the corporate world. There was this individual that we worked with, and people were laughing about her behind their back. And he said, if people are laughing at you, you've lost. You've just lost.
Yeah.
And this lady eventually was fired, thank God, because I had to work with her, and she was a nightmare. And sometimes those things don't happen fast enough. But But anyways, yeah, I think if you're laughing at people, you win, and that was it from the start. Those memes were devastating. I don't think we can overstate how important it was to just laugh at these guys because they're fools and they look like fools. And I
Yeah.
mean, I tell you what, Jeffries does not come across to me as an intellectual in any regard. He just comes across as a buffoon. Schumer, I think he's sharp, but he's sleazy, and but he's maybe not too bright,
Well, they're
street
trying to get
bright
rid
either.
of him too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, the
now.
Democrats are trying to get rid of him, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's you know. Have you ever seen his wife? By the way, you ever seen
She
that?
looks like a dude.
That's exactly what I thought. I never saw for like forever. All of a sudden, I see this guy's wife. I'm like, what is that? You know.
Wonder
So
he's so unhappy.
it's like, but So, anyways, yeah. So I agree with what you're saying too. The blessing in it was finding out about food stamps. I'd heard one number was 50% of the food stamps going to illegals or something. And then last night I saw something that came up where the Secretary of Agriculture mentioned how something like the 5,000 people that are dead are getting food stamps, and then another thousands, I don't know how many thousands, that are getting two payments for food stamps. Same name, same address, whatever.
Wow.
So, that's what's unbelievable to me with my background in finance and stuff, that there'd be a system that our government's using that doesn't, have parameters set within the system that would prevent that from happening. That should be an automatic red flag when it's entered into the system.
Yeah.
Like
Why
we
is
said,
that
Joe, they
happening?
like we've always pushed. They need to get Joe Hoft in there to
That's
do
right.
the audit.
Thanks.
You
I'm
know,
serious though. I tell you what, I think we need a branch of the government that's just audit, and independent auditors that go in and are fierce and do the work and then hand it over to the DOJ if there's crimes, which there certainly is. Doge was a nice effort. I even looked at that though, and some, all these young guys are so smart and all that, and they did some clever things, I think, with AI and such, but they needed somebody to tell them what queries to look at. And that's where I think, auditors that have been around the block for a while, exactly here, okay, here's where we focus at. And that's where you're going to find your issues. And that's where it's most important. That's the kind of stuff. And that's basically what they were doing through their questions, through their queries. You drill down, and eventually, you find an issue broad, then you start drilling down in these areas to find out what's really
well,
going
they
on. So,
found, and Joe, they found some staggering things that
yeah.
still really have not been acted on.
What's happening with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I think probably, well, maybe the issue isn't communication. Maybe the issue is addressing the issues.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, well, why isn't this better communicated to us people? We heard all the stuff with Doge, Social Security, and all that. Why is there not a constant communication saying, here's what's going on with this, and here's what we've done so far, and this is how many people we've knocked off the records that were 150, 200 years old, things like that. That would be good. Finding it's something, but ensuring that it's been addressed is really important too. I think that's a big issue right now, and I just put a piece up and shared it with Jim at Gateway Pundit. It's about, and I think it's on everybody's mind, is our Department of Justice and our FBI doing what needs to be done? I mean,
Well,
really.
Joe, that's such a great point, Joe. And I'm gonna jump here real quick because you brought this up. It looks like there are so many issues right now that are just not being addressed. I mean, it's like I know that Comey was indicted, but according to Tom Renz, I mean, the indictment itself could have charged far more significant crimes than it actually did. It's pretty weak. Supposedly others are being investigated, and it does remain to be seen. But it was Tom Renz's position that on a whole host of issues, it is way past time to start seeing steady,
Mm,
serious federal indictments on these issues. From
yeah.
from COVID to Benghazi to J6 to the Russia collusion, everything. And it's like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Do they have the will to do it? Do they
Mm,
intend to do it? Because we're simply never, the American people are never going to trust their government again until these issues are really addressed and they see some of these people get perp walked.
Yeah.
mm.
And I don't see it happening.
No, and the little press conferences in the Oval Office with Big Pharma is not helping.
Yeah, I tell you, and we can be real picky. We do need to step back and look at the overall. Thank the Lord Jesus that
Yeah,
we've got President Trump in
that's
office
right.
now, and the amount of work to date already has been incredible, never historic. So we are kind of spoiled children in a way, but in another sense, absolutely not, because this is the stuff that matters. If we don't get this stuff fixed now, it'll never be fixed, and that'll be the downfall of this country. I think there's a couple major issues. Our judges is a serious issue. We've got people that are, judges that are not judges. They are not in any sense. And Chris, you could go on probably for hours about this. These rulings that these people make are unconstitutional. They disregard prior precedents, all sorts of stuff. These guys are criminals in my book and should be removed. I have a thesis that we should get rid of all Biden judges because of the auto pen.
Yeah.
And I think we could argue that and at least get rid of them for a period of time, but fire everyone, have them removed from right now, and that would maybe help us so that a lot of this stuff's not happening. You see the list of number of challenges against a president since 1960, and Trump's got like 75% of Trump. It is a coordinated attack. It's part of this conspiracy against Trump. People like Norm Eisen, why he's still walking around is beyond me, and Weissman and John Brennan. These guys, you don't just indict them, you arrest them and throw them behind bars where they can't do any more damage. And that's what needs to be done. We know it. And yet, like you said, just slow walk. And so, yeah, definitely.
Joe, does Pam Bondi have the will to do this?
I don't know. I'll tell you a story. Her brother reached out to me, and he's an attorney. Okay. And he had a couple cases. He had one case that he said, Joe, can you write about this? Basically, let me tell you what's going on. And it was horrible. A young girl who's in the house in Florida. I think it's the house. Maybe it's called the Assembly. I'm not really sure. Beautiful young girl in her 20s, ran for office, good Christian girl, and she won. And Trump liked her. He's proud of this girl for running. And she got in, and she wanted to do things to protect children and just the right thing. So she had a bill that prevented women who were 17, 18 from being strippers, which apparently wasn't in place in the state. Another bill on child trafficking. And then she went after Disney, which was in her home district.
Wow.
And said, hey, if you're going to push this woke stuff, then we're going to take away your benefits. It was a big deal. And all three things she got done. Wow. And, and so what happens is the left, whoever they might be, the anti-American people want to destroy this country. I don't know how to put it any other way. Rudy Giuliani came to our event in Vegas a couple of weeks ago or months ago and said that. He says the only thing these people have in common, the Democrat Party, is they all want to destroy this country. They hate this country. And that really rung a bell, made sense to me. It's a great way to look at these people want to destroy this country. And so anyways, they charged this girl or did an investigation on this girl through the state, accusing her of some wrongdoing, which she didn't do, and her family, which they didn't do. And she had to get an attorney, and she ended up, no charges moved forward. But then her election came up and she lost the election by about 500 votes, or maybe 200 even. I think her election was stolen. I think 100%. All elections are stolen. So I think that's unfortunate. But then what happened was the Friday before Trump's inauguration, the corrupt Biden appointed DA down here in the federal jurisdiction in Florida indicted her without a grand jury and said she'd done something wrong. And that's when she called in Pam Bondi's brother, an attorney who has a group that specializes in trying to help people in these types of situations. So we wrote that article, and she ended up, they dropped the case. But we needed some sunlight on it, which is the things that we can do, which is what you guys are doing. Sunlight is the recipe to destroy this stuff, get it, transparency. So that was dropped. And then he actually reached out to me about another case in St. Louis where two guys were being attacked for not being proper about DEI policies in St. Louis in building homes. And they're needed in St. Louis because the city's all blown apart. Looks like a nuclear waste, property. The way the Democrats have ran that city is just a joke. Of course, they're not getting 100% voter turnout. They're not even getting voters out of those districts, but they claim to be. So anyways, I wrote about that. And that a week later was also dropped by the Department of Justice. So Sunlight shows on him, and he seems like a really great guy. This is Pam's brother, and he's really, obviously a great supporter of his sister. So I'm thinking, and I've heard other things. I think she means well. Time will tell if she's going to be the right person for the job. I'd say this first year almost now, I'd have to give her an F. I would give Cash an F. And Bongino's gone dormant, so I don't know what's going on there. But I did see a tweet this morning from Bongino where he's responding to that Massey from Kentucky about the pipe bomber, which we wrote about last week as well. This last week, just think of the stuff that's happened just this week.
Yeah.
And Bongino doesn't come out and say that that's not the pipe bomber, but he scolds all of us for daring to throw this stuff up and report on this piece that came out of the Blaze, where this guy Baker, who was a January 6er, who was a reporter on January 6th, gets arrested himself, which he never should have. And now he's pretty fierce about his reporting. I think he's a pretty good guy, pretty straight up. He reported that there's this girl who was a Capitol Police woman who actually was the pipe bomber. And then we know that she was one of the people shooting at with rubber bullets, shooting down on people. It was illegal, is what my understanding, there at January 6th. She then later shot some bullets of some type, pellets or something, at people walking in the building in one area where Roseanne Boylan was, where she got hit, fell down, died after being smothered by a bunch of people. And then this woman, this Capitol Police woman, was there to try to resuscitate her, had no clue what she was doing, broke the machine that might have, shocked her back to life. And Roseanne died. And then the Capitol Police burned her body, cremated it before the family could see it, and say she died of a drug overdose. And she was a drug addiction counselor for 7 years. Had been helping people for 7 years, and they claim she died of a drug overdose at the Capitol. Well, this woman, the same girl, was there too. So she's not. She should be arrested. I think all these Capitol. So another one you didn't list. All the Capitol policemen and women that ignited the riot at the Capitol, started it, were firing on people. You talk to anybody that knows anything about riots, you don't start shooting at people. You don't lob these bombs into their faces. 2 guys died from heart attacks that day. I think they had these flash bombs, grenades blow up in their face. And according to people, that blows up near you, you won't even know where you're at for a while. So a couple guys died that day, along with Roseanne Boylan and along with Ashley Bobbitt. Why is there not an investigation into that? So we knew this inventory of things on January 20th, and why this stuff wasn't done immediately is beyond me. And of course, Bondi and Cash weren't there for a while. I don't know when they actually started. Was it whatever? And shame on our senators, the same guys that we started off this discussion bitching about, because they're getting their 500,000. But why didn't they approve all these people that Trump's had? I mean, Kim Guilfoyle, I think I'm saying her name semi-right, who Don Jr.'s former girlfriend, she's the ambassador to Greece. She just went over there a week ago. Now, why is our Senate so slow in approving this? There's no reason for it. Our Senate Republicans are as much complicit with this slow rolling process as anybody. And really, we've got about a year, because if we lose 2026, it's over. So we've got to get elections right. And I know Trump's working on that. And I've heard there's some activity going on. And I don't know a lot about it. I'd like to know more. I wish I knew more. But there's some things going on. One thing that I presented and shared it with some people, and I know it got to the Trump team, is where I was saying, hey, before the election, we need to do what we do in corporate. We need to validate these processes all year long. You don't come in on December 31st and then look at the numbers and look at the processes that were in place to produce those numbers. You do this work throughout the year. It's the law. It's the part of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, and you have to make sure every single process is perfect so nobody can insert stuff into the system that would create faulty numbers. That's what we should be doing with our elections. We should, if we're going to implement new processes, which would be, let's say, just no more mail-in ballots and no more machines and just paper ballot and counting them, we should audit that ahead of time to make sure that everything's proper, so that going into the election, we know everything's going to work fine. We don't want to do that after the election, because we've learned anything done after the elections from nothing. Nothing's done.
Yeah.
And so
what a novel concept, Joe. What a novel concept to try to get it right before the fact.
Yeah, and we had a guest.
Sorry to interrupt, Danielle, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's like it doesn't seem like brain science, but nobody else is saying that. So brain science or whatever I'm trying to say.
We had a guest on, and Joe, it might have been you who was explaining that the Government Accountability Office, the GAO, was initially set up to be this independent body that would make sure that all of the institutions, all of these agencies were properly spending the money, that money was getting where it was supposed to go. I could see that the processes for the government should be vetted through this place. And then the legislature basically passed a law that made the Government Accountability Office completely unaccountable, and instituted that the Office of the Inspector General. And of course, we all know that the inspectors general of the agencies sit under the agency head, who is corrupt. And so, or who has been corrupt for a long time. And so I think this is one of the main areas that we have to see rectified. Of course, we have to get elections right first.
Yeah.
One other thing that I've been thinking about, people have been complaining that Congress isn't getting anything done. But if you look back to 2020 and the tremendous amount of fraud that happened, these elected officials, we have no validation that they're in there. As far as I'm concerned, they're all in there fraudulently, because no one can prove to me otherwise. So I don't know if seeing Congress do anything will ultimately get overturned anyway, because the 2020 election needs to be addressed.
Right. I think Trump's going to have to an executive order. And, and then our media tries to throw on us this image that, oh, those are just garbage. It's something you can throw in the, trash can. That's not true. I look back, the Emancipation Proclamation was an executive order. Lincoln didn't have the votes to push it through the Senate at that time. So he did an executive order. So I think they are worth something. They are the law, and they need to be adhered to like the law. So Trump's going to have to do it, and then hope if we get free and fair elections, it is not going to be a close situation in DC. And I think some of the Republicans don't want that. I think some of these Republicans are working on the other side, the rhinos. I think they're just maybe, they say the uniparty. I don't know. They're just people that hate America too, and just want power and money. And so, we got to do that. But going back to the Department of Justice, my piece this morning, and I've sent it to Jim. I hope he puts it up, because it's kind of a sensitive discussion, because we really liked these people going in, Pam and Cash and Dan Bongino, and we don't want to harm those guys in any way, but we want the job done right. But day one in my piece this morning was day one. You needed to get rid of the riffraff in the DOJ and the FBI. And some of us were thinking they should just shut down the FBI. And I think that would have been better than where we're at now.
Yeah,
and keeping everybody around. And I show examples. We've got Comey's Maureen Comey, who just got let go in July. Jim Comey's daughter, who's running Epstein, Maxine Maxwell, which is Ghislaine Maxwell, and the P. Diddy cases. What is she doing running any of these cases? It's outrageous. Roger Stone was thinking that's why they're suddenly going after Trump. For Epstein, he thinks she inserted some stuff into those files that would look bad towards Trump. That's why Roger said something. Well, let's just release the grand jury material related to Epstein, and let's just see what's in there. And so Trump, that week, they fired Maureen Comey, and they did make a motion to release all those documents, unseal them in New York, because Maureen Comey is the one who had them all sealed. And so what happened is the Democrats fight it by an Obama judge is blocking it. So, this is the kind of stuff you got to go through with these criminals. And so, again, why was she not removed? Her brother-in-law, her sister's husband, was in the office in Virginia, the Eastern District of Virginia. And I talked to he oversaw some of the January 6th cases. And he's not a great guy. And he was there until recently, when they finally got rid of the guy who was the head of I guess it's called the U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District. When they finally got rid of him, we find out, his wife's dad is Jim Comey's child's godfather. So again, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Unbelievable, the incestuous nature of this.
Yeah, so they get rid of him, and then we find out that's where Troy Edwards is working. Troy Edwards is Comey's son-in-law. They're in the same office, and as soon as they get rid of them, bring in this Halligan, they get an indictment on Comey, an indictment on Letitia James. She ends the Russia collusion sham once and for all. There was still one case open. It was against General Flynn's colleague, who they wanted to harm. They just wanted to harass him, keep the case alive, have it cost him a lot of money, and he didn't do anything wrong from the start. His crime was saying Flynn didn't do anything wrong, and that's cost him dearly. So she ended that case, threw that out, and and got rid of some corrupt DA, U.S. attorneys in that district, like Troy Edwards, Comey's son-in-law. So
yeah,
that's what can be happen when you've got a good person overseeing an operation in 1 month.
Yeah.
So that's a good example of why you need to clean house immediately. And I don't think they've done it. There's another article we found where there's 5 guys that are running the FBI offices around this country. Maybe there's 50 offices or something. 5 people were all involved with Jack Smith. And so we put that up, and Kash Patel, the next day, he fired one of them. Well, there's still 4 guys that are working with Jack Smith that are running offices across this country. And if you know anything about tone at the top, you got a crook at the top, that whole organization's crooked. And that's what's happening in at least 4 offices around this country still. And these guys don't have the understanding to get rid of these people. So
it makes absolutely no sense, especially when you compare it to what Kash Patel was saying. You go back and look at his past comments. There's no question that Kash Patel was as critical as the corruption in our FBI as anybody else, if not more so. He knew what was going on, still knows what was going on.
Yeah.
And on this, I want to go back for a second to this J6 pipe bomber.
Yeah.
Think about the extent to which that issue was used to prejudice juries all over the United States against these J6 defendants, even if it was not, quote unquote, admitted in evidence in their trials or in their plea bargain agreements or anything. I guarantee you these federal prosecutors were poisoning the minds of these judges and making it think that these J6 defendants are the ones, or many of them were involved in the planning of this pipe bomb, which is just so dangerous, so lethal. And here we are. There seems to be credible evidence that law enforcement orchestrated this. We're not just talking about the 50 or 100 plainclothes FBI agents that were planted there and that were inciting the J6 folks who were there. I mean, so if there's credible evidence here, Joe, that this lady who was employed with the Capitol Police Department actually did this, does Kash Patel, does Dan Bongino, are they going to move forward and make sure that she's indicted and prosecuted for this, or are they going to investigate this? Because I mean, I'm telling you that the casualty from that alone against
It's,
these J6 defendants was enormous.
I know you're spot on, and couldn't agree more. And I know Dan Bongino. I've talked to Dan, and he seems like a good guy, big tough guy for sure. And now I'm kind of feeling frustrated because, and he's a good communicator. So why has he done such a horrible job with this FBI communicating? At very least, they need to revamp their entire department. Who's ever running that is trying to destroy these guys because they're not doing a great job. Or maybe it is the material and the things that are happening. I don't almost even care about these other things where they're arresting people in cartels and all that. I don't care. I want the stuff fixed that will destroy this country from the inside. And if these people get away with this, we're all doomed. But here's what Bongino said this morning, and I hadn't seen that he tweeted anything in a long time.
Right.
So he's responding to Tom Massey, and Massey had apparently written him, and I didn't even read the document Massey sent him, but it was about the J6 bomber. And Bongino says, I'll start towards the end of this. Yes, our leadership team will be meeting with FBI team members today, and we'll avail them of all the whistleblower resources they need to disclose any evidence of malfeasance in the prior administration. And we will ask about the threads that may have gone unpulled under prior leadership because we are passionate about saving this country. Okay, that doesn't have nothing to do with this January 6th. I don't care about that. We want an answer on is this January 6th, this person that they identified, this woman, young woman, who they're saying is the January 6th pipe bomber, is that her or not? And why have you not said anything for a week? It's terrible.
Exactly.
So he goes on, but a week of near 24-hour work on recent capital letters open source leads in this case has yet to produce a breakthrough, and some of the media reporting regarding prior persons of interest is grossly inaccurate and serves only to mislead the public. I proudly served, and he goes on, this administration, I proudly worked, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. And he really didn't answer that. He didn't answer for us yet. Is this the person or not? Are you saying this person is so recent you haven't had time to investigate? Are you telling us that you've got a crap team that's looking into this, that's feeding you garbage? Because that appears to be what's happening. But this is not an answer from Dan. I'm very disappointed. God bless Dan. He's maybe in a tough spot. I don't know. I feel like he's been neutered since a few months ago, and where there was this, like what's going on there with Pam and Cash and Dan. But this doesn't answer the question. We've had a week now, and we don't have an answer to, is this the person or not? And it sounds like
Joe, why would they not know right now? Why would they not know the answer to that question right now?
I don't know.
I think the anecdotal evidence is Nancy Pelosi stepping down, is it not?
Well, that happened the same day. That's a great point. And, Danielle, here's something I wrote about in my book, my third book on the Steele. I wrote 3 books, and I'm going to grab it right now. I just put them all 3 together, a little advertisement. It's called The Steele. And I put all 3 in one book. So you can get it at Amazon now. Go to Amazon, look up Joe Hoft and The Steele. Awesome. And all 3 are in one book now. But my third book was about the cover-up, what happened after. And I talk about January 6th. And in that chapter, I make this point. Pence, we learned Pence was a traitor, and we learned that day. I remember I wrote about it in the morning. He's going to be Brutus or a hero, and he turned into Brutus. And I put something up that afternoon, and he didn't have to come out with this letter while Trump's talking that says that he disagrees and he's going to go to the Constitution, all the the BS that he wrote that day. He failed us all in not standing up for that. And then they started this process. I don't know what it's called exactly, Chris, you might know, the joint session with both the Senate and the House. And early on, there were some Arizona raised some issues. It's one of the first states. And so there was supposed to be a break to look into that. And that's at about that point is when Pence left the floor, as well as Pelosi. And they went due to an emergency. And at that point, then, when they came back that night, what's overlooked is the fact that because of this emergency break, when they come back, Pelosi, according to rules, takes over the session. And so she came back that evening, had one vote on the Joe Biden. They passed it, and everybody went home. And that was it. And so it was really important that Pelosi, you're talking about there, Danielle, was in charge, because that way they knew for sure, if we couldn't count on Pence, if he's going to, backtrack, we've got this. And so the pipe bombs were how they did that, because they didn't break due to the rioting outside. They broke reportedly due to the pipe bombs. And it was reported that there were pipe bombs found at the RNC and DNC, and they shut down some buildings. And it's believed at that point is when, and that was the cause for ending that first session. And that then absolutely was needed and necessary for Joe Biden to become president, because Pelosi's going to get in there. She's going to push that thing through right now. And
this is
it is really
Joe,
important.
that is so, this is the most explosive, as horrendous as the entire J6, as infamous as all of it is. This was sort of the linchpin that held it all together. Look how horrible these people are. Look how un-American. Look how anarchic these people are. They're willing to plant pipe bombs in order to harm and injure and kill people. That was the magnitude of this attack on democracy.
And frame people, right?
And frame people for doing it. And here we have evidence that it was probably, or very well could have been, a member of the Capitol Police Department, perhaps acting in collusion with other law enforcement officials, maybe the FBI, to do this. And we
maybe at the direction of Nancy,
we can't get anything out of the Justice Department, out of the FBI.
And we can't get an answer. We can't. Well, it sounds like, again, but a week of near 24-hour recent open source leads in the case is yet to produce a breakthrough. And some of the media reporting regarding prior persons of interest is grossly inaccurate. Who are you talking about, Dan? Don't throw this garbage out. Tell us the truth. You'd be bitching about this.
That's exactly right.
More than anybody. Tell us the damn truth. And and we found out this Capitol Police woman, she's from Ukraine.
Yeah.
So on top of everything, and then she leaves the Capitol Police to go join the CIA. Or was she a part of the CIA during January 6th? I don't know. That's probably a good question. And they found her through this gate analysis. And some people, that's just garbage. I don't know. They had like a 96% match. That looks pretty solid to me. I mean, what is it that we're not hearing from the DOJ that, this is the right person or this is the wrong person? What is it?
Just debunk it. If it's not true, just debunk it.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Is she still reporting?
These guys. And God bless these guys. And Dan's a good man.
Yeah.
Dan's a good man. Like I said, I've met him. I don't know if I could say I know him that well, but he's been real nice to me. What's going on? What's going on? And this is why we needed to get rid of these bad apples at the beginning. I've talked to somebody this week, somebody else who knows, and this person told me that the one person that's really, really doing great work is Tulsi Gabbard. She and her team are going after it. And remember, a couple weeks ago, a member of Tulsi's team went and gathered the information related to Charlie Kirk's death. And Cash had a cow. He didn't like that.
Yeah, she was Joe. Just to be clear, you're talking about when she wanted to, and perhaps even had begun an investigation into foreign involvement in his assassination.
That's right.
And Patel shut that down. Why?
Cash had a cow. Why is he having a cow? And so what I'm hearing is from an insider is that Gabbard's doing the great thing. Which really, if you were to say to me beforehand, of all people, Tulsi, I'd be like, no, she's doing a great job is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing the DOJ is blocking everything. And I'm also hearing that Todd Blanche, I'm telling you, I'll just be honest. This is what I heard. He's not a good guy. He's one of the big blockers. And so there's been this argument maybe a month ago, and everybody stands up for Blanche. He's a good guy. Well, he represented Trump in that Merchan case in New York, and Trump lost. And I don't know why he didn't get the whole thing thrown out, because I know we had a corrupt judge that probably nothing was going to happen, but maybe the end result. But he should have been hammering the fact that Trump's no accountant, never has been, never has received an invoice in the mail. They called that a felony. It's not a felony for receiving a letter in the mail. They also, the second thing is, for each one of these invoices that supposedly Trump received, they said it was a felony that he entered those entries into the books. Of course, Trump never did that. He's never done that. He's a CEO of a corporation. I oversaw a multi-billion-dollar block of business. I never inserted anything into the system. It's ludicrous, that piece. And then the third thing is, then he authorized and put together the checks that went to Michael Cohen, presumably related to this. There's like 11 different invoices times these three different activities, which aren't crimes, and they made that up to 33 felonies against President Trump. We don't know how large some of these checks were supposedly either. We just know the total amount. They didn't tell us. One of them could have been for $5, one for $10. We don't know. And that's why the president of the United States is getting charged 3 felonies, might be on a $5 check. So I don't know why Blanche didn't get all that out in the open in that case. So at least people would understand this was about accounting and not about anything President Trump did at all, because he was president at the time. It was just lunacy. And so that's the guy that they're now second in command at the DOJ. We heard somebody say a couple months ago that he's the guy running the place. Bondi's down here in Florida, taking care of things here.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I don't know, but that's what I've heard. So,
Yeah.
But what is really clear, what's really, really clear, I think, to all of us here, is they're not getting the job done now. We're panicking because we've only got so much time. And there's, like we've mentioned in this call already, how many things have to be addressed.
Yeah.
And they're not getting addressed. That mixed with Eisen and Mark Elias and Weissman and their activities to slow everybody down with all these bogus cases that are garbage, that are all funded by George Soros NGOs, which are funded by us through USAID. And, you know, all of this stuff to slow us down, and to ultimately the end game is kill this country, kill anybody that stands up for the truth. Continue to censor us, dox us, sue us, do whatever you have to prevent us from sharing that truth, because that, again, that's the key. We've got to keep laying the truth down no matter what it is. And that's how we get, that's really what saved this country. I don't know. People will look back and say, man, it was the brave people like you guys that have decided to share the truth, because
Joe,
that's what we need.
Speaking of people who have been persecuted for sharing the truth, Tina Peters. Now, we saw yesterday or a couple days ago this week that the state electors were pardoned by President Trump. And the premise for these electors who were being charged with state charges was that they were doing their constitutional duty. They were acting on behalf of the Constitution, which gives federal supremacy in the case. And so Trump was able to pardon them. So shouldn't we have used this very basis to have Tina pardoned like 8 months ago?
Yeah, should have been done day one. That's what Emerald Robinson said. She's been pretty harsh on this.
She's been harsh on a lot.
DOJ. Yeah. And I think she's got a point. The wording is such that, and I've got it here in front of me. It basically says, if you were involved in efforts to expose voting fraud and vulnerabilities in the 2020 presidential election. So it includes me. It would include you guys. Anybody that stood up and said, this is garbage, and dug and tried to, out that is pardoned. So I look at that as me. I was talking to Leah Hoops the other day. She said, thank you, President Trump, for giving me a pardon, and went back and looked at the list. I go, God, I can't see her name. Did she change her name? So I called her up, and she pointed out to me the wording in this. It's anybody. And it just so happens this includes, and then it goes through the list of Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, and all these other people. Wow. So it's not, it doesn't say, it excludes everybody else.
So it's not limited to the specific names that are named.
So do you
That's
think
right.
Tina could have been pardoned? They moved her into
Well, she
federal
would be.
custody or something?
She would be pardoned on any federal crimes, according to this. And there's still this argument that maybe she should be pardoned on those crimes that they put together in the state because the federal government was behind it. We know that. I've written about this. We know that that Merrick Garland and Christopher Wray dialed into a conference call in her county before her indictments. That a U.S. attorney there in Colorado was involved in emails about this. The FBI raided her home. The FBI raided Sharona Bishop's homes. So the federal government was all over this thing, as they were in every case related to the election. I think what we're going to find, and Jim and I mentioned maybe earlier, we had some time with Rudy Giuliani a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about this. I think that every single case related to the election, whether it be civil or criminal, state or federal, was being run out by one central group. And I believe people like Norm Eisen were probably members of that group. God knows, probably some foreigners were on that group if we could really find out who it is. But it was a very corrupt group of people that were working together to get Trump and anybody that was going to share the truth about that stolen election.
So the feds were calling the shot. The feds were calling the shots in Tina's "quote unquote" state court criminal prosecution.
Yeah. And so that's why there's an argument that Trump should be able to pardon her, because was it a state crime? Especially if the federal government, there's evidence the federal government was running the thing. I think there probably is somewhere if it hasn't been destroyed already. But yeah, and I put a piece up this morning on Tina too. Again, sent that over the Gateway Pundit too. I haven't looked to see if it's up yet. But Tina's really sick. Somebody sent me that yesterday. She's really sick in prison, and she needs our prayers right now. Yeah. So this poor woman's in her 70s and was indicted wrongly. She didn't do anything wrong. Absolutely, she did her job.
She really
and that's
did.
the thing. That's the thing that's so really disgusting. Did. And that judge and that state judge that went after her was one of the most vile human beings I've ever seen in my life. There's nothing redeeming about that guy. He was possessed, and the things he said to her was just toxic. So, and then he put her away for 9 years. This woman who's doing her job and never had a criminal activity ever in her life. Gold Star mom, give me a break. This guy is a villain, a vile person. And that's the one thing. It's now with this federal judge he said he'd be back in a week, knowing that she's in prison in her situation. And then we haven't heard from him. Yeah. Now, maybe they're going to blame that on the shutdown. I don't know. But, he needs to get her out of there. I think what they want to do is move her to a federal court where they or prison or jurisdiction so they can just send her home. She doesn't need to be in prison. There's no reason. She
really doesn't.
It's punishment. That's what all this was. I think Christian mentioned that earlier. All of this was just to punish us. Yeah. Just punish us for standing for this great country and this great Constitution and the truth. We are under attack, and it's been brutal. Yeah. And so you're right.
Joe, I'll tell you,
it's still there.
It's still there. And I was talking to Danielle about it this morning. I can tell you, I mean, we have a sense of the pulse here, as grassroots advocates. And I can tell you that there's some real restlessness in the ranks. And I'm not just talking about, fringe conspiracy theorists. I'm talking about mainstream MAGA Americans who are very disturbed by some of the things that we're seeing and by some of the things that we are not seeing. And, this has to be straightened out between now and the midterms. And there has to be some real progress here, because some of these people are so angry and so dissatisfied that they may not vote. They may, they're pretty disillusioned about this. So there has to be some movement on this. And, if Blanche is blocking real progress here, I know we didn't mention her name, but Tom Renz had mentioned Susie Wiles. I don't know if you know her. I don't know whether she is a good figure, bad figure, but he suggested that she's blocking the Maha agenda and some other things there. But whatever the cog in the wheel here is, they've got to take care of this and move forward and get some real justice. Here and start with some serious indictments. And if they don't, if they just continue to talk, and if Pam Bondi just continues to go on the news shows and talk about all this and all that, I'm telling you, we're going to be in for a rude awakening in
Oh,
2026.
well, it's not going to get done. It's just
Yeah.
not going to get done. This is a conspiracy. Absolutely. It's been going on. It's the same people. I saw an interview between Ed Martin and Maria Bartiromo from a couple days ago. The thing I don't like hearing is, well, if we can't indict these people, we need to shame them so that people forever will know that these are the people that
What?
were involved in this.
Shame is not
Shame's not
enough.
it. That's not enough. That's a joke. And it's almost like they're trying to throw that teaser out there. So when they say, well, yeah, these guys did it. Here's another Durham report. It looks really bad, but we're not going to do anything. That is so
And
that
Joe, that would have more significance if these people were elected officials. These people are not even elected officials.
yeah.
They're not even theoretically accountable to the people. Usually politicians, a lot of times will correct course, at least knowing that, I could pay a price for this at the ballot box. Most of these actors don't even have that hanging over their head.
Mm-mm.
All
Yeah.
they have is criminal indictments.
No, this is so severe. This is so broken. He did follow up with this, noting that he talked to Rudy Giuliani, who probably knows more about these RICO type cases than
Mhm.
anybody. Prosecuted many, prosecuted the first one, and he did. I did hear him say it has to be basically the same group over this period of time, and I think we can say same group. This has
Yeah.
been Obama and his lackeys, really, including Joe Biden, who wasn't even there, but all these people like Lisa Monaco and Merrick Garland and
Susan Rice.
Susan Rice and Norm Eisen, Mark Elias, who was Hillary's CFO, campaign finance manager, all the way up till today. He's still fighting for this election stuff, trying to destroy our elections, drop boxes, and all that. And Weissman, Andrew Weissman, and all of his group that were on the Russia collusion. They're still around. They're still speaking every day on MSNBC and all that. I think we can make a solid case. It's the same group, and these people are doing all they can to hurt Trump and protect their own butts. And I'm hoping, I guess I'm hoping that, at this courthouse not far from us, that something will happen. Again, it's really, really slow.
Yeah.
And that's part of a strategy. It's like, how's that saying go? Justice delayed is justice denied, or whatever. That's what's going
That's
on right
true.
now.
And I've been giving the DOJ and the feds the benefit of every doubt. Danielle can tell you, but at this point, there's no excuse. The crimes are there. Renz and many other lawyers have said the evidence is overwhelming. So
Mm-hmm.
what is the reason why you're not moving forward here?
Mm.
That's the $64 million question
Yeah.
that's got to be answered one way or
Well,
the other.
yeah. Well, clearly there's a problem.
Yeah.
Clearly. I don't think we could say anything other than that. And that's why I'd give it an F. I'd give the Justice Department an F. And yeah, they're doing in normal situations. Maybe you could give them a much higher grade, but this isn't normal. We've been under a coup d'état since Barack Obama.
Yeah.
And the crimes he made. And I've actually posed this question: what is it that Obama did that was so terrible that they didn't want anybody to know, that they were willing to risk their careers and everything in order to get rid of President Trump?
Yeah.
What could it be that's so dark back there that's what they're willing to do? Are they just power hungry maniacs, which they are?
Yeah.
Or were they covering up for something real sinister?
I think
Question.
I think you're right, Joe. I think they were covering up for something real sinister. Before we let you go, Joe, why don't I lead us in a prayer for Tina, because I think
Great.
the power of everybody praying together right now is going to be important for her. So, Jesus, we come before you for our sister in Christ, Tina. Jesus, what it is to be wrongfully accused, wrongfully arrested, wrongfully tried and convicted and sentenced. And we pray that you would just breathe the breath of your spirit into her, that you would bring healing to her, that you would bring peace to her, and above all, Lord, that you bring justice to her. We ask you for your comfort, and Lord, just bring her out of jail, even today, even this morning, even this hour. We lift her up to you. We know that you are sending angelic support to her. Help her to feel your comfort, your nearness, and God, bring your salvation to her. Get her out of jail. In your name we pray.
Amen.
Amen. Thanks.
Yeah,
Great.
absolutely.
Joe, I have to tell you, it is an inspiration always to have you on. Your fire, your passion, your tenacity. You know, you got. I don't think you recognize the extent to which you influence. You know, people like me, and so many others. You know, you and Jim. So God bless you, and you know, keep up this fight because I think that we will win, Joe, because we have to win.
Yeah,
There's no other option.
that's right.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
choice.
No.
And the greatest phrase in world history: fight, fight, fight.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Love you, man.
That's
Thanks
right.
for everything.
Thanks, guys.
Love
Thanks
you,
so
Joe.
much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. I always love talking to him, Chris.
Me
Joe
too.
Hoft is a legend, and he's a warrior, and he's a man of great faith. And I just, when we were talking before he came on, we were the ones who are a little down in the dumps, and he was the one saying, "There's really great things that are happening." So I just appreciate that so
Yeah,
much
me
about
too.
him.
And there are some great things, and you always have to take into account what he said, Danielle. That we can be spoiled. You know,
Yeah.
we can get spoiled, and sometimes we do forget all of the good things that President Trump has done and is doing. You know, and it's not lost on me. I know it's not lost on you, but the colossal injustice that was done to the rule of law, the absolute perversion of our justice system, and the enormous harm and damage that was done to so many Americans from so many walks of life because
Yeah.
of it, because of that lawless administration, Obama and Biden. It begs for justice across the board, and Louisiana citizens, American citizens, are simply not going to rest until it happens. And if you want to talk about, they say, hell hath no fury like the wrath of a woman scorned. I can tell you, hell will have no fury like the wrath of the American people if there is no justice in the form of criminal indictments, RICO actions, and jail time for these top level government officials. We will lose the country. The Republicans will lose the Congress and very well could lose the presidency. Because if President Trump can't get this done, what's the likelihood that JD Vance is going to be able to get it done, or anybody else who comes after him? We have to do it now, and I hope that they understand the gravity of this.
Yeah. And I'll say, Chris, I feel like this week feels like a tipping point. I don't know how else to describe it. It just feels like something has shifted. The people have gotten maximally restless. The just the starkness of what we're facing and what has and hasn't happened feels very palpable. So I just want to remind everyone that you have power. Your prayers have power. Your worship has power. Your voice has power. So use it. Absolutely use it. Partner with truth. Don't agree with the lies. Don't agree with division. Don't partner with division. If you feel this week, because the spiritual war is at a fever pitch, if you feel this week that you have just an uncommon amount of friction in your house, you have an uncommon level of frustration or irritability, it is the spiritual war that you're feeling. So call it what it is, recognize it for what it is, and spend some time in prayer, spend some time outside, and you have to reject the temptation to lash out at the people closest to you, because that's the strategy of the enemy, right? The strategy of the enemy is to get us to fight each other, so we take our eye off the ball. Well, our eyes need to be very much strongly focused on the ball this week. We need to be in prayer. We need to be literally in strong worship. Fill your house with sounds of praise this week.
Yeah. I could not have said it any better. That everything should begin and end with prayer and with a heart of gratitude, because there's so much for which to be thankful. So
Yeah.
much. I just look at this, and I think that the J6 prisoners and all of the hardship that they went through, the months and years of lost liberty,
Yeah.
simply for exercising their core constitutional rights that our founding fathers gave us at great cost, and to be punished that way, and to have their lives ripped apart that way. If there's no redress for them, real redress in the form of criminal prosecutions and civil remuneration as well for them,
Yeah.
I think that this country will not survive it.
Yeah,
We really
because
won't.
Chris, you're right. I mean, a pardon is a great thing, right? The pardon got them out of jail, but it doesn't bring the lost money back. It doesn't bring the family relationships back. It doesn't bring the people who committed suicide back, certainly, and it doesn't bring people's reputations back. People who have been prosecuted for being at January 6th are still suffering and are still struggling to find gain meaningful employment, still struggling to have their name, probably struggling to get banked again. So that I don't think pointing back to January 6th can be overdone.
Not at all. I think it is representative. I think January 6th is a microcosm of the entire poisonous, cancerous system
Yeah.
that existed under Biden, Obama, and to some extent still exists even now.
Yeah.
I hate to say, but
Yeah.
it still does. But it's a microcosm, and it's what motivates me, because I hate injustice. I hate abuse of authority, and that's exactly what those J6ers went through. And the idea, Danielle, that 8 U.S. senators who suffered the ignominy of having their telephone records subpoenaed without being disclosed to them. I wonder if they would, and they're going to get $500,000 plus attorney's fees because of that under this reopening bill they just passed. I
From
wonder if
us,
they,
from us.
from
They're
us,
getting their money
from
from
us,
us so that they
from
can go, so they can take those proceeds and go continue their insider trading.
and go exactly, that's exactly right. I wonder if they would trade places with Jake Long,
Lang.
Jake Lang. I wonder if they would trade places with Jake Lang, who spent year after year in solitary confinement over nothing, over absolutely nothing, over the weaponization of the federal government. I wonder if they would sacrifice their liberty. Why is it that the first and foremost in their minds as public servants is not what can we do to make sure that these innocent Americans receive justice? Why is the first thing on their minds what can we do to make sure that we get another payout and protect ourselves and a carve out here?
Yeah.
It is truly the reason why people can't stand the federal government. I'll tell you, Danielle, that not only the senators who are going to receive this money, but the senators who voted for this, even if they're not direct beneficiaries, I think there's going to be some casualties. They have an explanation to make to us as well.
They certainly do. They certainly do. And I was thinking as well, Chris, of Cynthia and Chris Price, the J6ers we had on the show probably early last year. Just people who literally went into the building, looked around, and walked out, and their lives were completely upended. Just great Bible believing, faithful people, patriotic people. We don't deserve this. We absolutely don't deserve this. And it's time to see justice.
It is. All we have, Danielle, is the rule of law. And if this complete perversion of the rule of law is not vindicated fully and completely in the form of criminal indictments, jail time, and real civil remuneration for these J6 people, this is a precedent that will poison this country permanently. And you just wait until there's not a Republican in power anymore. Wait till the Democrats get in there, and the precedent is set. Look what we were able to do. We were able to completely pervert the rule of law, and we got away with it. what do you think they're going to be in a position to do then? That is what is so frightening about this, and that's exactly why there has to be justice, and I believe there will be. I
Yeah.
really do.
I do believe there will be. Not that I'm trusting the Republican Party to save me, for crying out loud. It's not like I believe and have faith in the Republicans. I have faith in a few people, a few good people who have proven themselves, and everybody else, the jury's out.
Exactly, and deliberating right now, and maybe coming back with a verdict that they're absolutely untrustworthy.
Yeah,
At some
absolutely.
point. But I trust you, Danielle. I trust other Americans that we're close to. I trust the Constitution, and I trust God. But at this point, I do not trust in any political party. I really don't, because I think on certain things, on many things, in fact, there's very, very little difference between the two.
That's right. Well, happy 350th episode, Chris. What a gift. Who would
To
have
you as
ever
well.
thought? Who would have ever thought?
You need to go back and listen, Danielle, to the very first one we did. I know
Oh
you
my
don't want
gosh.
to do that.
I know. I'm just happy it's behind us, right?
There
We
you
live,
go.
we grow, we learn.
We,
Thank you, everyone who has been with us since the beginning, especially we had a lot of growing to do, especially me. But I think we've improved. We've learned a lot anyway.
Absolutely. And we're continuing to get the voice of liberty out. So thank you for subscribing and sharing the State of Freedom. Thank you
Yeah.
for helping us to get your voice out there. Because, Danielle, like I said, it's not the establishment, it's not the Republican Party, it's not the Democrat Party that's going to save us. It's voices like ours, voices of the people, that will, I think, usher in the great reawakening and resurgence. And I think President Trump, obviously is at the tip of the spear, but he cannot do everything. And we're going to have to be in a position to continue on even more strongly after him. And that's what we're doing here. So God bless you, and God bless the State of Freedom.
That's right, Chris. And if people feel that this show has blessed them, we would love for you to leave us a milestone gift so that we can continue to do what we're doing. You can do that at freedomstate.us.
God bless you, Danielle. Inveighing we shall go.
Yes, we shall, sir. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you on Tuesday.
Absolutely.
The secret to losing weight 2 times faster has gone viral. See the transformations hundreds of thousands of men, women, and teens are experiencing around the world with the Slenderize drops. These homeopathic hormone-balancing drops are proven to control appetite, support thyroid function, improve energy, boost mood, and increase metabolic rate. To learn more about the drops or other incredible natural wellness and lifestyle products, email me at danielle@freedomstate.us or visit the Shop Our Partners page at freedomstate.us. Meet the world's first living, full-spectrum, certified organic CBDA hemp extract. Nessa's hemp oil was extracted from seed to bottle without chemicals, solvents, or heavy metals, and it surpasses world-class standards for purity. This pure and powerful CBDA has been proven to reduce aches and pains, ease mental tension, and promote better sleep. To get yours today, visit the Shop Our Partners page at freedomstate.us. Thanks for joining us today on the State of Freedom. Be sure and check out the show notes for this episode. You can always go there and find the calls to action and resources mentioned in the show, and you can find out more information about our advertisers there as well. If you want to learn more about us or support our work, visit freedomstate.us. To get involved with Louisiana Citizen Advocacy Group, visit lacag.org. We'll see you next time. God bless.